Good morning, beautiful. It's summertime, and that means family vacations. But is it possible to bring along some camera gear, get some decent photos, and still enjoy the vacation without alienating the family? Let's find out. Southwest Florida's Gulf Coast is a very popular vacation destination. Beautiful beaches, fresh seafood, boating, fishing, golf all provide great opportunities for the family to enjoy some time away from the stresses of everyday life. It also provides lots of great photographic opportunities, but is it possible to combine the two? And even if it is possible, is it a good idea? Well, I decided to test the possibilities and share the results with you. One of the first attempts I made was some bird photography while my daughter played at a nearby park. I was able to find a facility with just a little research that had both playground equipment and some nature trails that led to a beautiful estuary surrounded by mangroves. Hey guys, I'm at Andeaver Park in Southwest Florida. I've got my Nikon Z6 and the Sigma 150 to 600 millimeter lens, and I'm doing some bird photography, and this is something that I haven't done a whole lot of in the past, but I knew it was something that I wanted to get into, something that I was interested in, so I've done a lot of practice in the backyard, and it's one of those things where you can kind of get frustrated because, I mean, really, how many pictures can you take of cardinals and robins and blue jays in your backyard? But it's good practice because it does take practice. It's harder than you might think to get these birds in the frame, get the focus point on them, pull focus and start firing off shots, and I have made a lot of missed shots. I've got so many throwaways on my memory card right now, it's not even funny, but I am having so much fun doing this. All right, so let's talk about the settings that I'm using for bird photography. I've got my camera set in manual mode with auto ISO. I'm trying to keep my shutter speed around 1/2000th of a second. As it gets a little darker, I need to drop it down a little bit, and I know I'm taking pictures of a lot of stationary birds, but I want to try and be ready for when they take off and start flying, so that's why I'm keeping my shutter speed so high. I'm trying to run my aperture between 5.6 and f8. Gives me a decent depth of field, but also gives me a little bit of wiggle room if my focus is off a little bit, and I have had a lot of throwaways despite that. I've got auto ISO set up so that it can adjust the ISO setting for the proper exposure, but then I'm adding and subtracting a little bit of exposure compensation when I feel like I need to. As far as focusing, I'm using the dynamic area autofocus on the Nikon Z6. I'm keeping that focus point right in the center of the frame for easy target acquisition on these birds. I'm using continuous autofocus and back button focusing. And lastly, I'm also shooting in continuous high mode. But I'm really trying to get my timing down and just do about 3 or 4 shot bursts, and that seems to give me the best results. When we first got to this park, I was able to get some really nice shots of a white crane that was on the edge of a pond. He was there hunting, and I actually got some action shots of him going into the water. Unfortunately, he missed and he didn't get the fish, so I didn't get the shot that I really wanted of him coming up with the fish, but I did get some action shots of him going into the water after, striking after a fish. When you're doing wildlife photography and bird photography, one of the things that you want to look for is the animal actually doing something. You want to see some life activity from the animal, whether it's hunting, looking around, preening itself, any kind of activity beyond just perched on a branch, basically, is what you're looking for. So I was really happy to get those kind of shots. this trip is not a photography-specific trip for me. This is basically our family vacation, and so I just kind of wanted to let y'all know that, because a lot of times people think that you can't incorporate photography into your family vacations, and that's simply not true. It's not as easy. It would be nice to be able to take a photography-specific trip, but with the amount of time off that I get from work and being a family man, that's really difficult to do. I can't pack up my stuff and take off for a week or two, say, hey, I'm going to take pictures, see you later. So this is proof that you absolutely can incorporate photography into your family vacations. You can do the family stuff, you can do the touristy stuff, the normal vacation stuff, but you can also plan and carve out pieces to go and do your own thing and take some pictures. If your family's anything like mine, one of the best times to do that is in the morning. I'm the morning person in the family, so if I want to carve out a couple hours just for photography, the best thing I can do is set an alarm and get up early, because then I know I can go and take some pictures and have some time undisturbed to do some photography, and then get back and enjoy the family vacation, go to the beach, go visit some tourist attractions, whatever it is, and it's really nice to be able to combine the two. I felt like the bird photography was a great success. My next attempt would be a sunrise time lapse over Godfrey Creek. Now, I've done time lapses before, but I've never done a sunrise or sunset time lapse, so I was facing some new challenges. And because I'm the only early riser in my family, I was able to make multiple attempts on 2 different days without interfering with the day's plans for the family vacation. So set that alarm and get up early. Speaking of getting up early, it's about 6:30 the next morning, and I'm set up here down at the boat docks to try and do a sunrise time lapse. I've never done a sunrise or sunset time lapse. Well, that's not entirely true. I did try one the other morning, and I had my settings so screwed up that they didn't really come out. I tried setting up the way I would for a normal time lapse with not much change in the exposure. Had everything in manual mode and just set it to run time-lapse movie, and it just didn't work. It started out, when I played back the movie, about the first maybe 3 to 5 seconds of it were pretty good, so that might be usable, but the best part, which was the actual sunrise, had gotten totally blown out. I didn't compensate for the increased exposure that we were going to experience. So I'm back down here trying it again, and I'm using aperture priority mode, so the camera will adjust the exposure, and I'm using the exposure smoothing setting in the Nikon Z6. So hopefully that will allow it to compensate for the brightening skies and also give it a nice smooth transition so that we won't have that flickering that you see sometimes in time lapses. So I'm just going to let this run for a while and we'll see what we get. Over the next 2 days, we visited the Edison Ford Winter Estates and Boca Grande Lighthouse. In 1885, Thomas Edison purchased 13 acres of land along the Caloosahatchee River and built an estate he called Seminole Lodge. In 1916, his longtime friend, Henry Ford, bought a neighboring piece of property. The two families spent the winters there together for many years, and in 1947, Edison's wife, Mina, gifted Seminole Lodge to the city of Fort Myers. Ford's property, the Mangoes, was sold to a private family, but was also purchased and restored by the city of Fort Myers in 1988. Across Charlotte Harbor from Fort Myers, you'll find the Boca Grande Lighthouse Museum. In 1885, phosphate was discovered on the banks of the Peace River. That, along with the fact that Boca Grande Pass is one of the deepest natural inlets in Florida, turned this area into a major deep water port. The lighthouse was built in 1890 and is the oldest standing structure on Gasparilla Island today. And of course, what would a summer vacation be without a trip to the beach and some fireworks?
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out 'cause you kept cutting the cord, and I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time to be someone I wanna recognize. The future starts right now. I made a reservation, but you never came, so I'm checking.
So vacation's coming to a close. It's almost over. We're on our way home and we've stopped for the night to take a rest along the road. Wanted to give you my overview and some final thoughts here. And I would like to say that it is possible to combine photography with your family vacation. I've successfully done it. It was a challenge, but I did it. Let's take a look at some of the things that we accomplished this week. We had a nice family vacation in Florida, but we also got in some bird photography. We photographed the Edison Ford Historical Museum and Boca Grande Lighthouse. We did some beach and sunset photography, which is really nice. We shot some fireworks, which is a challenge in and of itself. And we got in some time flying the drone, so that was a lot of fun. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a challenge. It can be very tiring, but here's the thing that I found. You have to be willing to get up early. That's one of the things with with my family that I found was that if I was willing to get up early and get out there, I could have some time to do some photography and get done the things that I wanted to get done. Sometimes you have to shoot in less than perfect light. You have to just kind of take the conditions that are given to you and make the best of them. Some of the shooting that I did was in bright midday harsh sunlight, and I just had to go with it. The next thing I would say is you have to plan. You've got to have a plan if you want to pull this off. Think about what you're going to be doing throughout the week and where you can incorporate your photography. The other thing is you have to know when to call it a day. I never did make it to the J.N. Darling National Wildlife Refuge to shoot birds, which is one of the things I was really looking forward to doing. But I had to accept the fact that it simply wasn't going to happen. The timing just didn't work out. Maybe that's something that I'll be able to get to next time. But I did get some good bird photography in. Also, on the fireworks, I got my gear set up before the show started. I took some pictures and some video for about the first 5 to 10 minutes of the fireworks performance. Then I packed up my gear, I put it away, and I just enjoyed the rest of the show with my family. Because that's really the important thing. But I did get to get some photographs and video as well, but I knew when to say, okay, that's enough. Now it's time to put this stuff away and just enjoy the rest of the show. And I did. I had a really good time watching the fireworks with my wife and daughter. So overall, I think we had a really good trip, and I got to exercise some creativity while preserving some moments with my family. And I know that we'll look back on these pictures and videos in years to come, and it'll really bring back some good memories. So thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful or inspiring, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel. This is Southern Exposure, information and inspiration for the amateur photographer, and whether it's a weekend getaway or a week-long vacation, go out, take pictures, and have fun doing it. Thanks.